Okay, so once we've done our full size and we have cut our cases down to the correct length, we've put our primers in, it comes to the fun part of actually charging up the powder. Now I will do in a up and coming video how I do my load development and how I determine the correct powder charge for each of my cartridges that I'm reloading for. Right, so just a quick little safety tip that I use while I'm reloading. When you're reloading for a specific caliber, especially if you're using different powders for each caliber, you want to make sure that the powder that you are using for that rifle, you pour it into your scale or wherever you're dispensing your powder from. This is a RCBS electronic scale that I use, treated myself to something nice. I was previously using a RCBS beam scale, old school technology. It worked very well, but the newer stuff works much better. It's a lot faster, cuts down your reloading time by miles. What I do is, when I've chucked my powder into the dispenser over here, I label on the dispenser what powder I've got in there, and then I also leave my tin of powder next to my reloading station as well. So when I know if I go away or do something for a little while, I'll come back, I know, okay, this is the correct powder that I'm using, and I'm not going to get it mixed up with a different powder. Now as well guys, with reloading, it is very important that you jot down exactly what you're doing when you're out to the range, especially when you're doing load development, that you document everything that you're doing so you know, and keep your targets as well. When you come back and you're looking for information, you've got everything written down in black and white, and everything will be there when you need it in the future. So if I had to find a load, let's say for the 190 grain custom competitions for my 300 Windbang, and I decide to change over to a different bullet like I've done now, I'm now currently using a 220 grain. If for some reason something happens and I cannot get that bullet type anymore, I know I can change back to the 190 grain. I've got all the information, I've got the load data. All I do is just load up everything that I got, and I'm good to go. So with regards to seating the bullet, once we have got our powder charge that we're going to be putting into our cartridge, what I do as an additional safety factor, I don't particularly like to do every single cartridge, as you may possibly either skip one and you've got no powder inside, or there's a possibility of slightly overcharging one. So I do it the slower way, but slower is better, slower is more careful. What I do is, obviously my scale will dispense the powder to the correct charge that I need. I will take that charge, I'll stick it into my cartridge, pour the powder in, take it from here into the press, take my bullet, put the bullet on, and I seat it, and once I've got a full round, I drop it back in there and I know I'm sorted. Then I will continue that process for each of my cases and cartridges, and then I'll load up the entire batch. I don't particularly like to load a few, stop, turn off everything, go and do something, come back and reload again. I like to do everything one batch, as loading in different temperatures can cause deviations in your load, in your ballistics. Also guys, very important, when you're reloading, try and do it in an area or environment where you're not going to get disturbed. Leave your phone somewhere else, turn your phone off so that you don't get interrupted, because this part of the process is very critical, that you get it correct the first time. There is no second chances. So I hope I didn't scare anybody off with the reloading. It is extremely satisfying, like I said, when you reload your own rounds, you head out to the range and you make your rounds count every time you shoot a target or onto steel, or even for hunting's sake, that every time you make that perfect shot, that your rounds and ammunition have been loaded to the utmost best quality that you can do. And as well guys, when you are purchasing reloading equipment and the consumables for reloading, there are also many different brands out there, many good brands. Some brands outperform other brands, but like I said, I use all the different brands. When it comes to primers, I use CCR primers, I use SMB, I use Federal primers, and I also use Winchester primers. Now there's different variants in primers. You get pistol primers, rifle primers, small rifle. You get Magnum primers, also in small rifle, large rifle. So depending on your caliber, like I said, it's very critical that you have some information to a reloading manual, or you can download it on the internet. Make sure that you use the correct equipment and the correct consumables for your reloading. With the powder as well, many different brands out there, some very good stuff. With us being here in South Africa, we have Somchem powder, which we currently have a bit of a situation with. We're struggling to get powder, so we have shifted over to the imported powder. So also there you get extruded powders, you get ball powders, you get flake powders, you get a whole range of different stuff. And also with the powders, you need to be careful, because you get a slow burning powder, you get a Magnum powder, you get a very fast burning powder, and then you get a medium powder. So depending on your cartridge, it will determine on your powder choice that you will need to go for, as well as on your powder selection depending on certain rifles. Like for example, my 300 Win Mag, if I'm shooting a very heavy bullet, I will need a very slow burning powder, Magnum powder, to use on that bullet. If I go for something a lot lighter, like a 180 grain or something like that, normally you'll need to change your powder slightly, change it to something that will give you a bit faster burning rate, so that you're able to achieve your correct pressures and velocities that you need to get your rounds to stabilize properly in your rifle. Another thing which I found is very important while you're reloading, or to have whilst reloading, is a chronograph. So basically what that is, it's a little device that you set up either on a tripod or on a table, something like that, that when you're out on the range and you're busy testing your rounds, testing to see which gives you the best groupings that you can shoot in the rifle, or the most stable. Because what you look at when you're reloading for stuff like that is your standard deviations, how fast your rounds are traveling, and how consistent your loads are. So without something to test for that, you don't really know what you're shooting, how fast it is, and what you're doing. So a chronograph basically just measures your rounds as you shoot over it or through it. It tells you what your speed or your velocity of your rounds are traveling at. So you take that information, you put it all together, and like I said, you have a book where you write everything down, so that you got notes of what you've done and what you need to do. And when shooting through a chronograph and stuff like that, it will just help you to fine tune your loads that much more, so that you can get your perfect optimal load for your rifle. If you're not sure of something, or you want to find out more information, don't be shy to ask somebody and find out something, because something that you might think is irrelevant or very silly could actually be a very important step or critical part to your reloading. And if you have any comments on what I have done, or you would like to know a bit more information on the reloading that I do and the steps that I take to do it, please leave them in the comment section down below.